Hello everybody, it's Tama. Welcome back. Good to see you all again. I decided I was going to switch it up this week and move from the chair to the bed. This used to be Abigail's old bedroom, and I found out when I got over to the bed that she had left behind some of her stuffies and a doll, and I had a good check-in with them. And this is what I learned. I asked how they were experiencing the lockdown, all the restrictions. And Scout, the fox here, is kind of jittery and said, I just wish I could get outside and run and run and run. I wish I could go and chase rabbits and run after squirrels and do all the things I love to do in the springtime, but with the parks closed and the playgrounds closed, it just doesn't seem fair. And sometimes I actually feel angry. That's what Scout said. Then I talked to Froggy, and Froggy said, well, I just feel glum. All I want to do is kind of sit around all day. And today it's cloudy and rainy, and all I want to do is sit under the raindrops and feel sad all day. Don't have much energy for anything else. That was Froggy, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum from Scout. And then there was Rex, the little husky, just wagging his tail and had his tongue out. He says, I'm loving lockdown. I love being home with my people all day long, and I get scratches and lots of extra walks. This is my best life. That's what Rex had to say. And when I talked to Gemma, she just let out a big sigh. She said, well, it wouldn't be so bad if I could just kind of do what I want to do. But then there's always schoolwork, and it always seems like there's more I could be doing. And I feel like I'll let my teacher down if I don't do better on my projects. My parents are always nagging me and asking me if I've gotten around to all my homework, and I don't want to disappoint them and let them down. So really, I just feel tired. That's what Gemma said. Now, I don't know if any of you are feeling like any of these creatures are feeling. And maybe for you, it's just kind of a big swirl of emotions. One day, one thing, and another day, another thing, and you can hardly name what is what. But you know, in that big swirl, God is there. God is in that swirl. And that's part of what the Easter story is about, from those lowest of depths to those highest of heights. God is even there. And so we're going to start today with our opening song, and I'm going to turn it back over to Abigail and Oliver to lead you in the Spirit in Me.
Hey guys, it's me Gigi,
and it's me Abigail,
and I'm going to be playing on my ukulele. So now's the time for you guys to go get your instruments so you guys can just pause the video and then come right back. Welcome back! I guess we'll just get into it then. Good job, guys.
Good singing!
I'm going to put a link underneath this video that will get you the chords for that song, so that if any of you play the piano, or maybe you want to play along with Oliver on the ukulele, you can see the notes or the chords. So look for that, and then maybe next week you can actually play along. Now we're going to move on to our spiritual practice that we draw out of our basket each week. And this week, the practice that I drew was kindness. And the symbol for kindness is, do you guys remember it? Teacup. Remember what those two have to do with each other? Well, let's read the instructions. If we were in the class together, one of our masters would be leading us in this. After class, we'll go up to the great hall and tell whoever is in the kitchen that we want to help serve cookies and collect empty cups. So that is our exercise, our spiritual exercise, to exercise the muscle of kindness. Now, we aren't at the church and we can't go up after this video to the great hall and serve cookies and help clean up. Regrettably, I wish we could. But I have an idea. And if you have parents watching this video with you, tell them to just close their ears, because I want to talk to you just kind of without them hearing for a moment. This is my thought. Why don't you think of something you can do? I'm thinking maybe setting the table or cleaning up the table. Just surprise your mom or your dad or your moms or dads, and or whoever it is you're with, your grandparents maybe, and surprise them with offering before they even ask to do one of those kind of chores. And maybe if you always set the table anyways, then you might want to think of something different, like maybe offer, I don't know, to sweep the front porch, or clean up the blankets in the living room, or make all the beds the next morning or something. And that could be one way that you exercise the muscle of kindness. Okay, you'll remember that I told you that Easter is not just one day, it's a whole season in the church year. And how many days long is it? If you said 50, you got it right. And we are in the second week of Easter. That means our story today is going to be a story of the resurrected Christ. And it comes today from the Gospel of John. So I got out the John scroll. You'll remember that there are 4 Gospel scrolls. Do you remember what they are called? Those 4 books of the Bible that tell the stories of Jesus? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So our story today comes from the Gospel of John. And if you want to follow along in your children's Bible and read more detail later, you can find it on page 408. Or if you want to, and if you have one of these big regular Bibles at home, you're welcome to look up the story there as well. Remember, we've learned how to look up verses in the Bible. Look for the book called John in the New Testament, and then the big number, look for number 20, and the little numbers, you're going to look for verse 19, and then you can read from there after that. So a story of the resurrected Christ from the Gospel of John. Jesus' followers were afraid of the leaders of the tradition, the elders from the temple. They thought that they might be accused of having stolen the body of Jesus, and so they were hiding together in a room when suddenly in their midst Jesus appeared. And they had heard rumors all day of Jesus' resurrection, but this was the first time they had seen him. This was the first time all these friends were back together. And they were overjoyed, and Jesus said to them, "Peace be with you." And then he showed them the nail marks in his hand and in his side. And they were amazed. And again he said to them, "Peace be with you. And then he did something most unusual. It was kind of a symbolic gesture. He breathed on them. It was like breathing on them the breath of God or the wind of God, because he wanted these closest friends of his, these closest of followers, to have the same connection that he had to God. He wanted them to have the same forgiving heart that God had given him. You know, there are three things I really love about that simple little story from the Gospel of John. I love how the resurrection of Jesus was not broadcast wide to the whole world. It wasn't about a big announcement or domination. Before it was good news to anyone, it was simply good news to these closest of friends. They were the only ones to know about the resurrection of Jesus, this little group of friends and followers. And to me, that speaks to the relational heart of God, that God cares about people one by one by one. And so that's the first thing I love about this story. The second thing I love about it is that there is no sign of Jesus wanting to take revenge. You know, you'd think after what had happened to him and the cruelty on the cross and the trial before all the people and the Jewish courts and the Roman courts, you'd think he would want to go back and sort of prove himself and show them that he hadn't been put down by their evil or dark ways. But he doesn't even seem interested in going down that road. Doesn't even mention any of those ones who did him harm. There's no revenge in the resurrected Christ. And the third thing that I love about the story is that it stops being about Jesus and it starts to do a turnaround and it starts to become about us. Did you notice that part of the story? Where Jesus said, I'm going to take the spirit that's been on me and I'm going to give it to you. And he does this strange thing where he blows the breath of the spirit onto them. It's kind of like when God created the earth and he blew breath and it gave the earth life. So my question for you, having read that story or heard it, and I know you can't see our feelings board very well from the distance you're at. I'm curious to know which feelings you would identify that you think that those followers of Jesus who were in that room with him might have been feeling. I am going to choose 2, maybe 3, and then you guys can maybe take those, and if you want to respond with some art, with some music, with some choreography, I'd love to see what you come up with. Okay, the words I think I'm going to focus on are, I didn't think about this ahead of time, which maybe I should have. I am going to say loved. I love that picture of that girl who's feeling loved. And I think that probably those friends of Jesus felt that. And I'm also going to say happy, because there seemed to have been a lot of joy in that room. Okay, that brings us pretty close to the end. You'll remember that I asked if you would send a picture of yourself responding to one of our stories or to any part of our video time together, or even part of your life in this period of quarantine. So I was delighted to get one letter in my inbox this week, and that came from Grady, who sent this wonderful picture of his own part French, part English response to the song that Abigail and Oliver sang last week. So thank you, Grady, for sending that, and any of you are welcome to forward a photo and we'll share it with everybody. So speaking of singing, let's gather up air in our lungs and belt it out for our final song together. Be not afraid. Christ is risen. Alleluia. Be not afraid. Sing out for joy. Christ is risen. Alleluia. Be not afraid. Sing out for joy. Christ is risen. Alleluia. Oh, I did almost forget that time. The rocks. Wonderful. Let me get arrows going the right way. I am going to reach into here and bring one over, and I count 7 rocks left. So hopefully we can all be together again in 7 weeks' time for our pizza party. Have a good week.